What is up, people of the DC Universe? Welcome to my trailer breakdown for The Flash, and this is a very in-depth breakdown. We're getting into all the scenes, Easter eggs, explaining some of the confusing situations surrounding this Flashpoint adaptation, and also including some bonus scenes that you might not have seen that aren't even included in the main trailer, but featured in TV spots, such as you're seeing on screen right now, Keaton's Batman going into a room full of batsuits, among many other things. So I've got a ton of things to say about this trailer, so I hope you enjoy this deep dive. If you do, go on to like the video, and if you're into all things DC like this, then this is the place for you, so consider subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. So the trailer picks up right at the beginning with a very focal Flashpoint moment, and where Barry runs back in time to the night that his mother dies, and through doing this, well, this is what changes everything. Here we can actually see, and I really like this, how the skies change when the young Barry is running out, and it's like he's seeing an echo of time from when he was younger as he arrives on the scene, looking back on himself, knowing exactly how he felt that night. We then hear Michael Keaton's Batman asking Barry to tell him something, if he can go anywhere, another timeline, another universe, so why does he want to stay and fight to save this one? And well, Barry responds, and this is the whole kind of point of the core of Flashpoint. Again, not saying this is a straight up Flashpoint film, but evidently it is inspired. Barry responds because this is the world where his mum lives, and he's not going to lose her again. The director of the movie, Andy Muschietti, said that it's Flashpoint, but a different version of Flashpoint than you're expecting, and as a result of that, well, it's going to be different, and they're going to leave multiple things out of that very famous comic book storyline, such as it's very doubtful that we're going to get a Thomas Wayne Batman, because in Flashpoint, it's not Thomas and Martha who die, it's Bruce, so Thomas Wayne goes on to become Batman. We're not going to get a Martha Wayne Joker, no Atlantean/Amazon war. What about Reverse Flash popping up? That's something of which I do hope we get a nod at, because it's been out there for quite a while that Dark Flash is in this movie. Now in this trailer they don't give anything away with regards to Dark Flash, and evidently the main threat is Zod and the Black Zero event in this timeline. But the thing is, Reverse Flash is a part of that Flashpoint story, yet are we even going to get Reverse Flash at all? If Zod is such a big threat in this, apparently Dark Flash is going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. No matter what though, considering that the Reverse Flash is very key in literally Barry's mother's death, I would have to think there's something. But continuing on, Barry says time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets. Now among this voiceover, we see Michael Keaton's Batman hand touch over a picture of himself as a young Bruce with his parents Thomas and Martha Wayne. Now in this particular shot, you can see how Michael Keaton's hands are slightly bloody and bruised, likely after some Batman crime-fighting activity. Barry in this part of the trailer is doing the same. He's looking at the changed world that he's in now compared to his typical DCEU version we're usually familiar with, and he can see this other version of himself having grown up with both Nora and Henry Allen. Now this is likely him checking out the other Barry's room in Flash time, and what I mean by Flash time is when everything's moving slow and the audience can follow, and this is likely before he bumps into that other version of himself. And in the trailer, just like from a couple of years ago, we get that same scene of where he even approaches his mother from behind and makes a jump. I wonder if she'll turn around and be like, did you get a haircut? I don't know what they're going to do with that, because I assume the other Barry's going to still run into his mum with the long hair. I don't know. But regardless, it's probably going to be a very emotional scene for our DCEU Barry, because he hasn't seen his mother since he was a little kid, and the night that she was murdered by the Reverse Flash. And so we get to the point in the trailer where we have both Barrys looking at each other, and this is really where the fun begins. And I gotta love the headphones he's wearing as well, reminiscent of the Speedster ears on the Speedster suit, and I believe these headphones will even be used on the suit that the other Barry will be wearing, because it's a bit of a makeshift Flash suit that they make out of one of Michael Keaton's bat suits. Now from what we can gather already about the Flash movie, this other Barry doesn't have the Speed Force just yet, especially I suppose in the first half of the movie. That's why later on in the trailer, we see our Barry, the DCEU Barry, recreate the moment he got powers to allow the other version of himself to get them as well. Likely to not only give this world a Flash, but to obviously help out in the fight ahead against General Zod. But more on the other Barry getting his Speed Force powers. So later on in the trailer, just to kind of put it in here now, because may as well, I think the scene with the Batwing in the sky is related. So later on, we see the Batwing in the sky attached with some cable. This is when that cable, well, or should I say the Batwing first gets hit by a lightning bolt, likely deliberately so, to conduct that lightning bolt energy, send it down the cable line, and I think this is all due to them deliberately and specifically recreating the conditions that caused the DCEU Barry to even become the Flash in the first place, so the other Barry can get the Speed Force. And then we're going to have two powered up speedsters. Obviously, the DCEU Barry is going to be a more powerful version. He's graduated from his Blue Lightning, but the newbie other Barry's got to have the Blue Lightning and the newbie Keaton Batman Flash suit, if you will. Back to the moment in the trailer where both the Barrys meet each other face to face. Now, obviously, they're using some technology to mask Ezra Miller's face onto the other actor in certain scenes. Obviously, when an actor is standing from behind, it looks absolutely fine, like in this shot you're seeing on screen right now. But when it comes to a side profile, and this, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, I'm just kind of pointing out how the trailer looks. When it gets to the side profile, when both Ezras can be seen, if it looks a bit off to you, it's probably because it is a bit. I noticed it as well. Around the neck area on our DCEU Barry in this side profile shot, there's something going on there. And obviously, this probably will only be present in scenes where you can see both faces of Ezra on both actors. But I assume this will be touched up even more and more towards release. But yeah, there is a little bit of iffy CGI in there. Regardless, I do want to say it is pretty damn cool what they're doing here, and I think it provides for some opportunity for Ezra. I mean, that must be pretty hard, acting off of yourself and then syncing them up to actually make sense. There are a whole lot of thought must go into that. But up next, this is when we see both Barry Allens go to Michael Keaton's Wayne Manor. And we saw them a couple of years ago in a DC Fandom trailer. In the first scenes of that trailer arrive at this same Wayne Manor. And you may be wondering, why is this? It's probably because our DCEU Barry, given that he's in a new world, his first thought is to likely go to Bruce Wayne for help. But he probably doesn't expect this Bruce Wayne to be a different version to the Ben Affleck version that he knows. So along the way, around this part of the movie, he's probably starting to realize just how much has changed in this new world for him. Now, this is when we get some voiceover from Ben Affleck. So don't get confused here with how the trailer cuts it. These scenes with Ben Affleck will be before Barry travels back in time. I mean, it's kind of obvious given the conversation, since we have Affleck's Batman warn our Barry that if you were to go in the past, you have no idea what the consequences could be. And Barry says, Bruce, I could fix things, because he's got this ability, and Barry's probably thinking, well, with my unique abilities, I can go back and save my mom and everything should be fine. But Bruce Wayne, being a bit older and wiser and, you know, knowing a little bit of knowledge about science, I suppose you could say, is like, well, yeah, but you could also destroy everything. So obviously Batfleck's Bruce is not condoning this idea of Barry traveling back in time, but as we know, Barry is gonna go to the past anyway, which causes this whole mess. Now, among these scenes at this point in the trailer with Batfleck, we see the Flash Ring, a very comic accurate device. Now, Batfleck's Bruce Wayne has made this new Flash suit for Barry, and hence the ring, of which contains a very small version of the Flash suit that you actually see him wear. It essentially propels out in a very comic book way, and Barry in super speed Flash time can get dressed in it. And yeah, it's just sponsored by Wayne Tech. Now, these scenes are likely, in my opinion, after a potential Justice League saving scene or Barry just helping out Batman. There were rumors that we had Gal Gadot in there as well, and this could be like a daytime, again, Justice League operation. But if certain things have been cut out, I don't know. But ultimately, it could just be Barry and Batman saving the day. We see Ben Affleck's Batman on his monster bat cycle, and it looks really, really damn cool in a daytime street action scene. And some of you actually may remember set photos of when this was filming. Now, much later on in the trailer, we even get another very quick look at Ben Affleck's Batman during these daytime scenes. And notice how there's a very blue and gray color scheme going on with the suit. Now, so that's something that Batman fans have wanted to see for ages, and that is not the only blue and gray Batman suit we get in this trailer. It's just pretty cool that we can see Ben Affleck's Batman with that color scheme. But up next in the trailer is another huge, huge change that will most certainly make Barry realize how much he's screwed up, with him even saying, this can't be happening. I completely broke the universe. Zod. And so it turns out when Barry's probably exploring this new world that General Zod pops up on screen for this new world's version of the Man of Steel Black Zero event. And we can see the other Barry possibly reacting to this, even though this could be the other Barry just looking up in the sky as something else. I mean, you know the way trailers are cut these days. They add it in for like a connected scene, even though sometimes the connected scene could be about something entirely different. But this is when General Zod and his Kryptonian followers come to Earth, as many of you are familiar with from Man of Steel, to terraform the living heck out of it, except this time there isn't a Superman out there to help prevent this from happening. We don't know exactly what happened to this new world's version of Superman when he landed on Earth, or did he even make it to Earth in his little Kryptonian pod. But regardless, another Kryptonian did, and there is another Kryptonian who could help, and that's Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, of whom has been held captive for God knows how long, and even in some shots it looks like she's being experimented upon in a very Project Superman-esque inspired way, in where in that story Kal-El, Superman, was held in a facility and experimented on as well. So again, like loose adaptation / changes here. We then see General Zod walk out of his ship slightly, looking over the destruction of the military trying their best to fight off the Kryptonians, but obviously without some serious help, they do not stand a chance. And he says to someone, "We've been waiting for you." Now, he's saying this directly to Supergirl, as in the TV spots, just to link that in here, I'm going to do that whenever it is relevant. We see Kara hovering before Zod in her Supergirl suit in this exact same scene. In the TV spot, we also see her possibly in the same scene, but it's hard to say with the way the trailers are cut, screaming likely at Zod, "What did you do?" So all of this, obviously a little bit of a play on the Zod scenes with Superman and Man of Steel, likely being aware that Kara landed on Earth, probably expecting her to help out with their Black Zero event operation, but Zod probably won't like what she has to say about not wanting to join in on terraforming Earth. And what makes this version of Kara fighting Zod and helping humanity that little bit more touching is that Supergirl wants to still help save Earth despite being held captive by humans for possibly many years of her life. Whereas Clark, and don't get me wrong, Clark's had a lot of struggles, but he was raised in Kansas living a happy life. But Kara still wants to help out after all she's endured with the bad side of humanity. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zod has a line like that saying, "You still want to help them after what they did to you?" And Kara's like, "Yeah, I do." Now, in this shot here of Barry suited up, you can see him approaching someone chained up on the wall, and this could very well be Kara before they get her out, and it's likely after our Barry and the other Barry goes to Wayne Manor, and they recruit Batman. The DCEU Barry asks about a Superman, and maybe they can use him, since obviously our DCU Barry knows Clark. And Keaton's Batman, being Bruce Wayne after all, having a Bat computer, might have some knowledge on a Kryptonian and might say, "Well, I don't know anything about a Superman, but I do have intel on the Bat computer of a Supergirl," and then they go and get her for the fight ahead. And it's just interesting to consider that in this room, there is red light. So I think that is probably what is depowering Supergirl and keeping her in here, plus no exposure to the yellow sun. So this red light, as in the comics, the red sun makes Kryptonian lose all of their abilities that the yellow sun grants them. So whoever is holding Kara / Supergirl captive, this is most likely their way of depowering her. Now, another big change mentioned in the trailer is that Barry says he created a world with no metahumans, and now there's no one to defend us, as the camera pans over this Supergirl suit. So I'm wondering if this location where we see the Supergirl suit is where Kara was held captive, and it could make sense as she could have arrived to Earth in something like that, and they just kept her gear on site. And this is when we get that moment in the trailer where Keaton's Batman says, "Want some help?" and we see a massively updated Batcave from what we have ever seen before with Michael Keaton's Batman. Now, the sheer scope of this Batcave is freaking awesome, and we see Keaton's Batman walk in with the Batwing hanging in the background, the piano teasing his theme, with both Barry Allens in awe, as Keaton says his famous line, "I'm Batman." And up next, straight away, they do not wait a single second before we see a quick action scene with Keaton, of which I was always really curious about seeing, and how they'd maybe make him a lot more agile than what we even saw in Batman 89 and whatnot. And despite being an older Batman, you can see they've done just that. We see Keaton's Batman in a scene in where they're saving Supergirl, he dives down, sweeps up one of the captors, and smashes them into the ground. But everyone, bonus footage time, and this is some bonus footage. Before we carry on with the main trailer breakdown, in the TV spot trailer we see more of Keaton's Bruce Wayne and Batman in an awesome scene. We see him with very long gray hair, opening a room hidden behind some moving bookshelves, which reveals a bunch of bat suits that he's worn throughout the years. Now we know that this figure is Michael Keaton's Batman because we see this bruised and slightly bloody hand here, probably after some Batman crime fighting, as we mentioned earlier, wearing the same jumper, touching that old photo of a younger version of him with his parents. Now honestly, I don't know if he's going to shave that hair off. Some people might say that he's got that long hair because he hasn't been Batman in a while, but I'm thinking maybe he has been Batman even with the long hair because his hand is all bruised and bloodied as if he's been going out crime fighting, so maybe he does have all of that on under the cowl. I really don't know. But either way, guys, holy crap, in this new suit room, look at these bat suits. Most people are freaking out about the second one to the left and where it's a blue and gray classical Batman suit, and it looks fantastic. You can see a somewhat tactical version of a Keaton bat suit with goggles on the far right, and where that Batman cape has a hood on it as well, which I would just love to see that in action. Now the other Batman suit on the right, the second to the right I guess, feels like a almost inspired version of a BVS mech suit, if you will. Much more armored than that of your typical Keaton suit, even has some breathing apparatus there, so you could argue it's for underwater missions, but it would be pretty cool if this was a kind of Keaton mech suit, and it is pretty armored, so you never know. But the one Keaton will be wearing is the one that is right at the center, similar to his old suit but slightly upgraded. This is also the suit he was wearing in the scrapped Batgirl movie as well. As originally with the former Warner Brothers regime, this Michael Keaton Batman wearing that center suit, after Barry would have, I guess, tried to correct the timeline, he would have actually stayed as the new DCEU Bruce, and he would have appeared in Batgirl, apparently a solo Batman Beyond Keaton movie, but those plans are gone, and now this movie resets the old DCEU into James Gunn and Peter Safran's new DCU, with some actors of old staying on and some new, such as Superman Legacy with a new Superman actor. In the background of this shot as well, you can see some various pieces of equipment, from bat belts to various grapple hooks. This room is a Batman fan's dream. Now up next is a shot I don't really know what to make of, because we see Supergirl flying up into the night sky with lightning around her, but she's carrying our Barry. Not sure what exactly is going on here, but I do think it could be possibly linked to him helping the other Barry get the Speed Force, and maybe he's completely just out cold afterwards. I mean, considering a lightning bolt did go through him, so maybe Supergirl has to, I don't know why she would have to fly him up into the sky, but I do think those scenes could be linked. Now at this part of the trailer, we get some more destruction shots as the trailer just ramps up from Zod, Barry running up a building in Flash mode in this awesome shot, Keaton landing in the area where Supergirl is being held, with Barry saying, "If I can't undo what I did, if I can't get back, there might not be a future." Then guys, the trailer cuts down to the big battle, likely the final showdown, if you will, and the final act of the Flash movie, with both Flashes, Keaton's Batman and Supergirl against Zod and his Kryptonians. Now here we have both Barrys teaming up, and our Barry is in his new Flash suit and the other Barry with his blue lightning in the Batman makeshift bat suit, and they propel off of each other to give that extra whack, if you will, and this propels out loads of Speed Force lightning, which knocks all of those Kryptonian followers just flying everywhere as it just disperses out all of that energy. We also get some Supergirl action here along with some Flash action. I particularly like what our Barry is doing here. It's a very kind of Flash-centric power that he's figured out how to do himself, so you can see him spinning very fast before punching the ground in order for when he hits the ground, it sends out this tornado punch because of the spinning he did beforehand. And you can see the other Barry here in his Batman Flash suit with his new powers just kind of looking at Barry thinking, I wish I could do that, but he does get his moment to shine after this in another scene because he does a little side speed kick to this Kryptonian. Now there's another scene of which I'm intrigued with, and I could probably spew a bunch of theories, but ultimately it's a 1-second scene of Barry screaming no. So the background seems familiar. It could be Barry's childhood home, and maybe he's reacting no to the fact that this could be towards the end of the movie and he has to let his mother die in order to fix everything. But again, I'm just throwing ideas out there. This could be a reaction of DCEU Barrys to honestly anything. But while we're on that subject in general though, I do wonder how the DCEU Barry will attempt to reverse everything that he's caused in this movie through traveling back in time in the first place, and how would they do that and not involve some kind of teaser for the reverse Flash, as again, he's the one who killed Nora Allen, Barry's mother. So yeah, very intrigued to see what they do there, especially considering that Dark Flash is a part of this movie as well. But if they're bringing in a Dark Flash, I don't see how the general audience who don't know so much about this would see a Dark Flash who is kind of a reverse, in a way, of the Flash as any different from the actual reverse Flash, if you follow my meaning there. Now, the very ending of the trailer gives us some scenes of Barry and Keaton's Batman having busted out Supergirl, but they're caught red-handed and outnumbered, but lucky thing is that Supergirl is hovering right behind Batman's hand, blocking her in the background, and this is when she goes absolutely ham against her captors, now a bit more powered up through being exposed to the sun outside. She's then brought back to Wayne Manor after likely having some sleep, like we saw in that first DC Fandom trailer, which is when we get this scene in where Barry says she's not Clark, and she says, my name is Kara, with both Barrys awkwardly saying that we're Barry. But notice how, I don't know if you might have missed this, and I don't know if I'm reading too into it, but I feel like there's someone standing behind the other Barry in this shot, and I'm wondering if this version of Michael Keaton's Batman doesn't have Alfred anymore, but maybe rather possibly Alfred's daughter, Julia Pennyworth. And again, this is just an idea. It could be literally like just another butler. But if you look behind the other Barry's shoulder, you can see someone standing there with long, straight hair. Now, this isn't the long, gray hair of Keaton's Batman. And for a second, I thought maybe with what's going on in the background there, possibly a TV screen, it could be like just a news reporter on the TV screen. But the more I look at it, it does seem like someone is standing in front of whatever is behind there. But yeah, considering this is a Flashpoint-esque universe, wouldn't be surprised if Alfred is gone and maybe this is his daughter. Maybe it's just another butler. Maybe I'm going crazy and it is someone on a TV screen in the background, but would love your thoughts on this. And the trailer closes off with both Barrys in the Batwing, with the other Barry fanboying out about seeing Kara fly by on the side. Now, this is likely the team flying towards Zod and the other Kryptonians on their way to the final battle at the end of the movie. Let me know your theories, and also let me know what you thought of this trailer. My thoughts on it, I really enjoyed it. It really was thoroughly entertaining. I do admit, and I don't disagree at all with people saying that the VFX does look dodgy at times, and I do think it needs a bit more polishing at certain points in certain scenes. Some of the CGI modeling of maybe Batman going slow-mo or whatnot, it feels a bit kind of plasticky. Nowhere near, I do want to make that clear, is like how the CW do a CGI version model of Grant Gustin's Flash sometimes, and how that does look very clay-like. It's nowhere near that level, but if I can notice it in a trailer, you can start to see why people are starting to point that out. But in terms of like the actual selling point of the movie, this does look like a really fun time, a really great opportunity to introduce all kinds of cool Flashpoint fan service that automatically just suits the story in of itself. It's not necessarily just doing fan service for fan service sake. I mean, you know, they're going to do that a bit, but Flashpoint does open up all of those doors, just inherently. So really can't wait to see what you thought of this, guys. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really, really appreciate the support by sharing it maybe, give it a like, help this get out there a bit more into the YouTube algorithm. Consider subscribing if you're brand new here and you made it this far, especially for more videos just like this. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow speedsters in the next video. Goodbye.